I'm just going to be really honest with you. The last thing I want to do this morning is preach a message. There's just a lot of feelings, especially as we get ready to leave for camp tomorrow, and just a lot of, personally for me, a lot of anxiety. So before I begin this morning, we're just going to make room for that. We're just going to sit in silence for just a few minutes. I know it's a little bit awkward, but I feel like the only thing I can do this morning is just usher in the Lord in his presence. And that's what I want to do. So I'm just going to give us a couple of minutes of silence. I'm going to pray. I don't have any good jokes today. It's just going to be a straight message. We might get out at 11:30. I just don't. This is the last place I want to be. This is the last place I want to be speaking a message. Like, I just want to be home and like cuddling my dog, or, spending time with my family. So, we're just going to sit in it, and we're just going to make it awkward, and it's going to be fine. Okay. So I'm just going to give us just a couple of minutes of silence, and then I'll pray and we'll get started. Does that sound okay this morning? All right. Lord, there's just so much tension this morning thinking about how grateful we are in this part of the state to receive so much rain, and to also know that so much rain has impacted people in such a devastating way. And so, God, um, we just ask that you just show up in a mighty way for those people, Lord, for the ones that have lost their entire family, for the ones that have lost their homes, their vehicles, for the loved ones that had sweet baby kids at camp, Lord. There's just not a whole lot of words that I can put in a prayer, but you know our hearts, you know that we're broken and we're hurting. And so I just pray that you just show up in a mighty way, Lord. You're already there. I know you are. And God, I pray for those first responders, Lord, and the trauma that comes with rescuing and finding, and God, we lift those people up this morning, and we're grateful for the rain. But Lord, if you could just make it stop so they could heal, that would be wonderful. Lord, we love you and we thank you this morning in Jesus' name. Amen. Um, whew. All right, our core values are be real, so here I am. All right, and here you are, and it's okay to be real this morning. We're talking about trust, which I think is probably the best message to be preaching this morning, talking about change. And one of the things that Scotty said last week that I've just kind of been mulling over in my head, that it's okay to be sad for losing what used to be. It's okay to be sad this morning. It's okay to be sad for the people that have lost something. It's okay in your own life to grieve and have mourning for change. I just experienced this week. I worked in Brady Middle School. I've spent 6 of my 9-year career there. And those are my people. Like, when I say those are my people, I mean it. Like, my best friend teaches across the hall from me. And so I just knew, like, when my 13-year-olds were being pests, which we all know 13-year-olds can be pests, right? I know you guys weren't at 13, but they're different, okay? And I just knew that I had these people in my hallway that I could rely on to, be there for me. And I told them towards the end of the year last year that I was looking for a new job. Being a mom you have to make hard decisions, right? And I didn't realize how many hard decisions I was going to have to make as a mom. But one of those was like, I was getting up at 5 a.m. and getting home at 5 p.m., right? Which some of you are like, that sounds wonderful. I wish I had your job. And I love my job most days, but it was hard for me to come home and still be present after spending a whole day like exerting my energy on all these 13-year-olds. Like the last thing I wanted to do was come home and be a mom, if I'm real with you. Okay. And so I get this 15, now 16-year-old in my life, and I suddenly feel the need to be present as a parent. Annoying, right? And so I made that hard decision. Like, I'm going to start looking for a job because I want to be closer to her. Like, she went to school in early. If she ever called because she was feeling sick, I can't go pick her up. You know, if she left something at home, it's not a 5-minute drive down the road. It would be a 45-minute drive back and a 45-minute drive there. It was just too much. I would get home at 5 o'clock p.m. and I was a zombie. I would eat dinner. I would sit on the couch for an hour and I'd be like, I got to shower. I got to go to bed. And it's like 7:45, you know, and she's a night owl. She's up till like 2 a.m. and she's like, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, I don't know, go to bed. And I was just exhausted. Like there was just, you know, not a whole lot of me to give to her. And so I told my friends, hey, like I'm going to begin looking for a new job. I want to be closer to her. And they were so supportive. And they've been supportive this entire time. Like they were there for me when nothing was working. Right? When I was trying to get Audie into our house, like there was so many obstacles. Like the family home developer that was supposed to be helping me get Audie into my house quit in the middle of the process. And I'm like, okay, like, do I quit too, you know? And they were excited when Audie finally came and lived with us. And like, we had this like dance party in the hallway. Like those are my people. That's my support group, you know? And so when I told them that I was looking for a new job, it was very bittersweet. It was bitter because I don't want to leave what I'm comfortable with. I don't want to leave my friends. But like I have this whole other calling in my life now that I just can't ignore. So the last day of school, I finally got the call that Brownwood was going to hire me. And so I told them on the very last day of school, I'm not coming back. And it was super painful. It was horrible. And the most horrible thing is that our school paid for us to go to this huge conference in Dallas. It's called Get Your Teach On. And it's like the conferences of conferences. And it's $700 just to go to the conference. So Brady paid that for us. So we were all going to go. And my principal chose me. And I was so excited because my best friends were going too. Except you can't go if you quit. So they went without me. Rude. Disrespectful. And they get there, and my best friend Stormy is FaceTiming me because guess who's on stage? Joe Jonas. And I should have been there. And I just remember I'm in the kitchen, and I'm telling Katie, like, this is just this week. I'm like, I feel sad. And like for a long time, I couldn't really figure out why I felt this sadness. Like obviously none of this stuff in Texas had happened yet, but I was just feeling sad. And it's because I miss my friends. It's because there's a real grief in change. And it's a grief I hadn't really felt at that point. Like they're not dead. Like they're 45 minutes down the road. I can go see them at any time, but it's just different. What if I get in Brownwood Middle School and like none of them like me? You know, like how do you make friends at 30 years old? I don't know. Like my personality is a little bit different. Like it takes a while for people to really understand me. Like what if I'm there 5 years and nobody ever understands me, you know? And it's this grief that causes some people to return to their old life. You've probably seen it yourself, you know? It's the drug addict that gets clean but has one bad day and they're back to it. You know, it's the person that's recently sober but can't deal now without the alcohol, so one drink will be fine, right? It's the person that just gives their life to Jesus but can't seem to get out of their old habits. So my question that I want to ask today, and the question that we're going to be talking about today, is why do we want to go back? We've tasted, we've seen the Lord, and yet sometimes there's still that urge. There's still that sin inside of us that's like, this life is actually better without Jesus. You ever had those conversations with yourself? Maybe you're not brave enough to say that this morning, okay? I'm a quote unquote professional Christian. That's what Scotty calls himself. I guess I'm half that since I'm not full lead pastor. I'm just half of one. So I'm almost a professional Christian, just not there yet, right? But I'm just going to be really honest with you. There have been times in my life where I've kind of thought back and said, maybe it's better like to just kind of go my own way, especially when things get hard. Right? Especially when life changes so much, it might just be easier to turn back. Why is it when we get a taste of change that is so good that we feel pulled back to what we used to be? Well, I'll tell you, because the old feels good, right? Old life habits seem good. The old is unchanging. It seems very familiar. I'll tell you this story. Any of you like Brown Woodians for like the past, 30 years of your life, like you've called this place your home? Just me. Okay, great. There used to be this place where Little Caesars is now, and it was called Video Connection. Okay, that was our place to go. That's when we would rent movies. And then Hastings came in. All right, and I don't remember this because I was a young kid, but my mom said that she absolutely refused to go to Hastings because everything was so different and the music was way too loud. All right, so like the old is unchanging. Like we go to Video Connection because it feels familiar. The old is familiar to us. That's why it's so easy to turn back. The old is comfortable. I like my old skin. I like who I am. I like who I used to be. There's no need for me to change because the old feels comfortable. The old is predictable, and I feel like I have control. A lot of us have control issues. Not me, of course. I would never. All right, but you guys probably do. But this morning, my main point of this sermon is just because we're comfortable with the old, don't assume it's better. Just because you used to live there, don't assume that there is better, especially when we've got the taste of who Jesus is. So this morning, we're going to go all the way back in time to Genesis, okay? Not Adam and Eve, all right? But a very similar type of story. We're going to meet today this guy named Lot, all right? And Lot has a big decision to make, and he makes it sort of. And his wife makes a decision that'll change everything, all right? So we're going to be in Genesis 19 today. And you don't need a whole lot of backstory, okay? You just need to know that where Lot is currently living, the Lord is about to destroy it, okay? And for whatever reason, okay, you know how the Lord is, he's chosen Lot to basically make it out safe, all right? But Lot doesn't know this, all right? So meanwhile, we have some angels that are questioning Lot. Do you have any other relatives here in the city? They ask. Get them out. So there's pretty clear instructions from the angels here. If you have anyone that you love here, they need to hit the road, Jack, okay? Because things are about to happen. Get them out of this place, your sons-in-laws, your sons, your daughters, or anyone else, for we are about to destroy the city completely. Okay? If anyone told me that, I'd be like, absolutely, I gotta go. Like, I'm not the type of person, like, I remember when I was younger, Texas Tornado Alley. Like, the minute there even looked like a tornado might happen, I was already in the closet, and my dad was outside like this. Dads, right? You don't have to tell me twice. If it even sounds like there could be a little bit of an emergency, like, I'm ready. I'm in the closet. I'm ready to go. Okay? So the fact that these angels are having this conversation with Lot, we would maybe think they're angels. Lot might listen. All right? So keep that in mind. The angels continue, the outcry against this place is so great that it has reached the Lord, and he has sent us to destroy it. So Lot rushed out to his daughter's fiancés. Quick, he says, get out of the city. The Lord is about to destroy it. But the young men thought he was joking. Have you ever been there? Like you're telling people something super serious and they think you're joking. For whatever reason, I kind of have that personality. Like I'm like, no, I'm being really serious about this, and people are like, they just don't take me serious. And so Lot's probably like, okay, maybe did I dream this? Like you start second guessing yourself, right? Like maybe this isn't happening. Maybe this isn't real. Except it is. At dawn the next morning, the angels became insistent. Hey, we already told you, now we're going to make you. They say, hurry, take your wife and your daughters who are here, get them out now, or you will be swept away in the destruction of this city. When Lot still hesitated, the angels are like, okay. They take matters into their own hand. The angels seized his hands and the hands of his wife and 2 daughters and rushed them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful. So the Lord was like, I've got this plan for you. I just need you to follow through. And since you're not, I'm going to force you to, okay? Sometimes change happens that way. When they were safe out of the city, one of the angels ordered, run for your lives and don't look back. Keep that small statement in your mind for me. Or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains or you will be swept away. I'd be like, I'm already down the road. You don't even have to tell me all this. I'm gone. Like, I'm good, you know? And he says, oh no, my Lord. Like, come on, man. Like, get out. Don't look back. That's all you got to do. But he says, you've been so gracious to me and you've saved my life and you have shown me such kindness. But in light of all that, I still have this one thing I need to say to you. I cannot go to the mountains. Disaster would catch me there and I would soon die. Now, I'm going to be real honest. If I had to run up a mountain, probably the same thing, okay? I don't love nature, okay? I would die. See, there's this small village nearby. Please let me go there instead. Don't you see how small it is? Then my life will be saved. So the angels actually agree. They say, all right, I will grant you your request. I will not destroy the little village. Okay, but hurry, escape to it, for I can do nothing until you arrive there. Lot reached the village just as the sun was rising over the horizon. Then the Lord rained down the fire and burning sulfur from the sky on Sodom and Gomorrah. All right, so lots happening here, but here's the part of the story where things take a turn. He utterly destroyed them along with all the other cities and villages of the plains, wiping out all the people and every bit of vegetation. But Lot's wife looked back. And as she was following behind him, she turned into a pillar of salt. So a lot of things happening in this passage, but I want you to focus on something very particular. The angel said, get out, don't look back. So let's ask the obvious question here. Why would Lot's wife look back? I mean, like it's plain instructions, right? It's not that hard, just don't do it. But why do we look back? We do the same thing. Because old is comfortable. Old feels safe. The more I can remain in the old, the more control it feels like I have. Now, I could hypothesize all day long on the thoughts and feelings Lot's wife was having. We all have them, right? Maybe she has friends that were still there. Maybe she told her friends, hey, like we got this message that we need to leave. You should come with us. And they decided not to. Maybe she's looking back because she's just plain disobedient. I don't really feel like that's really her vibe. I don't know. We don't know a whole lot about Lot's wife, but I feel like I can resonate with her that I would go, but I would also want to turn back and see, like, is this really happening? And when she did, she was gone. So much times in our lives that we have this significant change and it's overwhelming and it feels better to kind of look back and say, but like my life was really good back then. I could do whatever I wanted back then. I didn't have to answer to anyone else. I didn't have to follow anyone's plans for me. And it's so easy to just go back into where we used to be. And Jesus preaches specifically, I say preaches, he tells specifically about this event. So we're going to switch gears a little bit just to kind of further give you an idea of what Jesus wants from us. You ever ask that question? What do you want from me? Well, Jesus is going to tell you right here in Luke 5. One day, some people said to Jesus, John the Baptist's disciples fast and pray regularly, and so do the disciples of the Pharisees. Why are your disciples always eating and drinking? First of all, rude. All right, mind your business, right? They're hungry and thirsty. That's why they always eating and drinking. But, people in that time always wanted to catch Jesus in the wrong, as if Jesus was ever doing anything wrong. He was doing things a lot different, right? But he wasn't ever in the wrong. But people constantly always wanted to catch him doing something bad, right? And so look at how Jesus responded. It's very interesting. Jesus responded, do wedding guests fast while celebrating with the groom? So think about it. When you go to a wedding, are you sad? Is that like the saddest moment of your life when you're invited to this wedding? I hope not. I hope you're not like in mourning or fasting. Like that would be awkward and weird, right? He says, of course not, but someday the groom will be taken away from them and they will fast. What's Jesus saying here, okay? Jesus is referring to himself as the groom. Jesus is present with his disciples right at that moment. And he's like, why would I ask them to stop eating and drinking when I'm right here? Why would they do that? We're having a good time. Why would they be mourning right now? But soon I'm going to have to go. And you're going to see my disciples mourn. You're going to see my disciples die for me. You're going to see them fasting and praying and not eating and not drinking. But right now, we're having a party because I'm here. And then things take an even interesting more turn. In this exact same chapter, in the same passage, Jesus says this. Then Jesus gave them this illustration. No one tears a piece of cloth from a new garment and uses it as a patch for an old garment. Okay? So let's play pretend here, all right? I got a hole in my shirt, right? I go to Walmart and I buy a brand new shirt, cut a circle out of it, and paste it onto my shirt. You know what that's going to look like? Ghetto. All right? Let's just call it what it is. It's going to be ghetto. All right? We wouldn't do that. He says, for then the new garment will be ruined, and the new patch wouldn't even match the old garment. He's like, why would you do that? Why would you take something new and put it on something old? Wouldn't we just go to the store and buy a new shirt? Wouldn't that make more sense? Or maybe you're poor like me, grab an old shirt and use the old shirt as a patch, right? Like, why would we do something terrible to something new to try and make the old better? He's like, what are we doing here? Then he says, and no one puts new wine into old wineskins. Now, I had to do a lot of research because, number one, I think wine tastes terrible. Okay? I have not found one that I like in the slightest. Okay? So I don't drink it, and I don't know what any of this means. Okay? So I had to do quite a bit of research for me to understand. Okay? But basically, I'm picturing a pouch. Okay? And if you have wine in this pouch, it's Gucci. All right, it's all good in the hood. But once you put that new wine into this old pouch, typically what would happen is it would explode. And then you don't have any wine, which I guess that makes people sad. I'd be like, okay, right? I don't care. Right now, if we're talking about Dr. Pepper, though, all right, okay. But for the new wine would burst the wineskin, spilling the wine and ruining the skins. New wine must be stored in new wineskins. In other words, your new creation, the new you, must be straight in with Jesus, man. There is no going back, because once you go back, you can't fit back into your old life anymore because you've already experienced change. You can't go back. I mean, people do, right? And how does their relationship with Jesus work at that point? It doesn't, right? He says, but no one who drinks the old wine seems to want the new wine. Have you ever been with a person that you've tried to get them to love Jesus, and they take a sip of Jesus and they're like, no, I don't want it? We work with youth a lot, and a lot of the youth kids, we pour our hearts and souls into them, and you think they're really getting it. And then there's this moment, they turn about 17 or 18, and they're like, we gotta go. And it's so frustrating. Like it's the most heartbreaking thing because they've tasted the new wine. They've tasted Jesus. And they've still said, the old is just fine. How many times in our lives have we decided that the old way is just fine? It's just one beer. It's just one bottle of wine. It's just fill in the blank for whatever that is for you. It's just one TV show I probably shouldn't watch. It's just that one song. It's not going to... How many times are you going to tell yourself that the old way is just fine? We can't take Jesus and patch up our old ways with him and continue on in the old way. You can't do it. It doesn't work. Because once you taste Jesus, life changes. And you can't be tasting Jesus and also be doing the same things that you used to be doing. That ain't real. Now, I'm not saying you can't struggle with that. I'm not saying any of that. But there are some of us that are making the decision every day that, yeah, I'm going to love Jesus, but I'm also going to still live in my old life. So the question I want to leave you with this morning, it's not evening, how do we deal with change in a way that propels us forward and not looking back? How do we go forward and not be like Lot's wife, like, I believe you, Jesus, but I just need to check on a few things back. No. How do we continue moving forward? I want you to consider this question. Does the unexpected journey make God less faithful? So much of my story in my life has been an unexpected journey. In no way, shape, or form, when I was growing up, did I pray, Lord, I can't wait to be a preacher. Ain't no way. I didn't even go to church. Like, what does even a preacher do? I don't know. Right? In no way did I thought I would be in this position in my life where I would be 32, bless it, okay, and be single still, because Nick Jonas has not, he's still married to that other woman. Okay? And that I would be raising a child by myself. Like, I've got a community. Thank God for them. I've got the best people surrounded by me. But in no way did I ever think this was going to be my life. Does the unexpected journey make God less faithful? And the answer in my life has been a heck no. Because I need him now more than ever. You know how hard it is to be a mom? Nobody told me how hard it was. All right? You have to make a lot of decisions. You sometimes, and like, listen, I know I'm never this, but sometimes you got to be the mean cop, and I don't want to. Like, yeah, you can have a Mountain Dew at 3 a.m. You do it, honey. No, it's a bad decision. Do you trust him enough to lead you down a weird path? Because here's the thing, it may seem weird to us, but God's got this amazing, awesome plan for you. In no way did God say, I can't wait to make this weird path for you. That's not who he is. A lot of people think God's up there making decisions and just laughing. That's not who. I think God has a sense of humor. If you read the scriptures, Jesus was funny. Like, some people take him so serious, and I'm like, man, this dude is funny. Like, he gets so mad, and I'm like, you know, like, I think God has a sense of humor, but I don't think he's ever laughing at you as he's making your path straight. That's not who he is. So the first thing, my first piece of advice to you this morning is to seek God. I know it sounds silly, but sometimes we forget to do that. You know, especially in the midst of heartache. Like, so many people on Facebook, I've seen them say, what can we do? What can we do? What can we do? I don't know the answer. I don't know that we put on our galoshes and go help people. I don't know that they want that. I don't know if that's what they need, but I know they need prayer. I know they need the Lord, and I can start there, right? Often we think change is so random. We think it's just like coming out of nowhere, right? But the more time I spend with the Lord, the more that change is not random. Did you know that the Lord begins to prepare your heart for change? You can kind of sort of feel it. I don't know how to describe it, but for me, I knew it was a good change for me to leave Brady and go to Brownwood, because obviously I was a zombie and that was not good parenting for anyone. But also, like, I just felt it in my soul, like the Lord is asking me to do something. And for a long time, I didn't know what it was. When he prompted me to adopt Audie, for a long time, I didn't know what that was, but I could feel it in my soul. Like suddenly I was like growing up, and that was really annoying. Like I've always been 13. Like the greatest compliment I got from a principal one time was like, "You never grew up past 13." And I was like, heck yeah. Well, you can't be 13 and making decisions for a family. You have to grow up. We become less intentional with God when life is calm. Have you ever noticed that your prayer life changes when you don't need anything? No, me neither. Yeah, for sure it does. I become less communicative when things are calm. But you know what I miss out on? I miss out on the Lord preparing me for that change in my life. I miss out on that connection. Second, I think you should expect God to show up and do something amazing. Yeah, what's happening in Texas right now is tragic, but that doesn't mean that God's not showing up to do something amazing. I've already seen it. The amount of people that they have found alive is incredible, right? One of my favorite verses that I have copied down in the very front of my Bible, something that Moses says in Exodus to the Israelites. He says this: "Don't be afraid, just stand still and watch the Lord rescue you today." That's good. In the midst of change, in the midst of, do I go back to this old life or go into this new life, sometimes you just need to stand still and watch the Lord rescue you. I want to leave you with this last little statement just to mull over today. Just because we're comfortable with the old doesn't mean it's better. When you get that taste of Jesus in your life, you begin to realize, yeah, maybe I was a lot more wild back in the old days, but like at 32, I don't want to go back to being wild. Like I'm tired, right? Life is so much better now because of who God and who He's making me be on this weird path in my life. So just because we're comfortable with the old, don't assume that anything about it is better. I'm going to pray. Worship team's going to come back up for one more song, and then we'll dismiss. All right? Change is hard. I'm not going to deny it. But don't get that taste of change and decide that it's better to go back. Keep moving forward. Keep going forward, because I promise you, the Lord's got a path for you, and it may seem weird, and it may seem crazy, but I promise you, He's got you. You just need to stand still and let the Lord rescue you. God, we just, we come to you in the midst of change and a heart that maybe feels like the old could be better, Lord. And man, like there's nothing better than you, Lord. I just pray that you make that overly obvious in our lives, that there is nothing better than the sweet taste of who you are. Help us when things are hard not to go back to our old ways. Help us when we hear those voices, when we want to look back and say, oh, is that really happening? Should I go? No. Help us to continue to move forward and grab our friends with us. Lord, we love you and we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen.